We are joined by New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. So much to talk with you about. Congresswoman, first, it was really surprising and shocking and disgraceful this week to see anti-Israeli protesters blocking the entrance to the World Trade Center site, shouting Allah Akbar there, what I considered hallowed ground. What did you make of that? They were doing that in New York, and so many people were really disgusted.
Yeah, it's abhorrent behavior, and it's not a surprise because so many of these organizations that you're seeing are truly not grassroots. These are organizations that have been funded by not-for-profits in the United States that have been set up, and we suspect, and the United States has been tracking for many years, that potentially Hamas and other terrorist organizations are fueling these organizations that are spreading the propaganda, which is what you're seeing in our university campuses and in our cities. So it's a really tragic situation just 22 years after probably the worst, as we know, the worst attack on U.S. soil, which was 9/11, and New York City, particularly the worst hit by that attack.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to that, these protesters also blocked travelers from getting to major airports on one of the busiest travel days of the year. They shut down multiple roads heading into New York's JFK airport. The same thing happened also in California at LAX airport. What should be done to these protesters who not only refuse to allow Americans to enjoy holiday season, but are threatening ongoing disruption of our everyday lives? I mean, what about disrupting the peace? What about, do they have permits? There surely has to be some things that should be done.
Certainly there's a right to free speech, but when that speech turns to violence and genocide, that's not tolerated by our First Amendment, and they should be arrested for disrupting and threatening violence, which they are doing across the country, as you just showed.
There's a lot of concerns, too, about New Year's Eve. And they have already said, oh, we're going to go to Times Square. We're going to go to other places, try to disrupt. Many people are worried. What would you say to Americans?
Well, I would be very cautious everywhere you go, not just here in this country, but across the world. As Americans, we have Americans held hostage across the world, and they're high-valued targets, and they're being held by these rogue regimes like Iran. There's terrorist groups in Afghanistan. We have hostages right now that are, as you just cited, are being potentially, hopefully, negotiated for release by the country of Qatar. So I would be very vigilant everywhere we go. Our borders are open. It's very dangerous in this country. You just saw it just outside my district, an Iranian trying to get into the United States on his second try, sent back to Canada under certain laws that allow us to do that. This is a dangerous world we're in. Everyone should be vigilant. I hate to have to say that in the United States, but freedom is not free, and we need to make sure that we protect ourselves when we have a government that doesn't seem to be protecting us, that being the Biden administration, very weak on our border and weak on security and projecting weakness around the world to our enemies.
Yeah, it is a huge concern. And you're right, that Iranian guy, I think, tried to get in a couple times from Canada. That was really frightening and is on the terror watch list. I mean, it is a perfect example of just how weak open borders is a very dangerous situation. Congresswoman, the New York Times, after 3 months, has printed an article which finally confirms the sexual violence committed by the Hamas group against Israeli women. It's really a reversal from their earlier, it seemed much more guarded reporting. And some of the things that they talked about are really horrific of what happened to these women. What is your reaction to seeing this report? And where is the outrage still from a lot of women's groups? I'm really shocked. A lot of UN women's groups and other groups that seem to always speak out and were speaking out during Me Too. Where are they now when you hear these horrific things that are happening?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's disheartening to see that violence against women is a political issue and not a human issue. And it all depends on where you stand politically, when certain women's groups, especially on the left, actually stand up. And it's nice to see that the New York Times, the gray old lady, is starting to embrace facts, something they have a history of not doing for many years. And they're getting called out on social media and stations like Newsmax. So thank you for doing that. And when they get it right, we certainly should recognize that.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I know you also have issues within your own Congress. You got Rashida Tlaib there, who just came out the other day and called the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, a genocidal maniac. She also said anybody who meets with him and has meetings, other members of Congress, that they're sort of complicit, and considered war criminals. I mean, she really stretched it, and her rhetoric just seems to be not just doubling down, but tripling down. What's your message to Rashida Tlaib and maybe other members of the squad with some similar rhetoric?
Well, she's very unhinged. I think she ought to watch some of the footage that the IDF put forward that many of us in Congress got to see. Unfortunately, I couldn't last through more than 20 minutes of this 45 minutes of GoPro video. This is video created by the Hamas terrorists as they were killing and murdering Jewish people in Gaza, killing children, shooting at young children. It was absolutely horrific. The truth is here on all of this is that if Hamas would lay down their arms, there would be peace. And that's what the truth is. The Israelis are defending their territory. They left Gaza in 2005, first-class architecture, everything they left to them. And now it's become a forward base for terrorists, a breeding ground for terrorist propaganda to people. And all of this is revealed in these horrific videos. And I don't understand why a representative in the United States government would say such a thing and not learn the truth and not spread the truth, at least be open to it. As a member. And also, there's also our Representative Pramila Jayapal, which actually she made words that implied that she justified the rape of innocent women in Israel during this Hamas massacre. So we have a lot of work to do in Congress, and we have a lot of people that need to be held accountable for their rhetoric and their language. And we've done that in the past. We've held people to censor, whether it was Adam Schiff or even Ilhan Omar. And maybe these other two members of Congress ought to be next when we consider censor in the House.
Yeah, some of the rhetoric is just, it's really shocking to see. Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, always great to have you here, and I hope you have a good and safe new year.